Hello. I wanted to discuss something here I thought might be kind of important about the four suits of the tarot and how we use them and how we see them, and the way I teach that with the four suits and why I do that. And I came across one of my books here. This is Rosicrucian Manual. This is from 1937. First copy, 1909. So it's really old, but it's good shape. And I either got it from here or I got it from one of these manuals. I was with the Rosicrucians in the 1980s. So I have a bunch of these teachings that they send you. Somewhere years ago, I got the idea about the four principles. What they call the four principles, we call the four elements now, but Rosicrucians call them the four principles. And that's earth, air, fire, and water. And the four suits of the tarot have always been associated with those four elements. I never saw any reason for that. But they bring up a good point in their teachings of the Rosicrucians, that those four elements or principles, if you want to call them that, are connected to each other. One can't be without the other three. So none of them would exist if it wasn't for all four of them being there. They need each other. So they're all really one element. Anyway. And that's the way I see the four suits of the major arcana. I use them as the four functions of consciousness by Jung: thought, emotion, the physical world, and your spirit. But you can use the four elements, the four suits the same way. Either way, if you were going to get a reading, no matter what's going on with you, all four of those personalities traits are going to be affected, no matter what it is. And that's why I don't really see a suit being important. So the way I teach the minor arcana is there's 14 meanings, ace through 10, and 4 court cards. It doesn't make any difference what the suit is. If it's an ace, regardless of what the suit is, that has a specific meaning to it. If it's a page, same way, or any of the other minor arcanas. So there's only 14 meanings. I use keywords in my meanings. The 14 keywords will get you through the minor arcana. And this is the way I've been reading professionally for years anyway. I don't think I've ever read any other way professionally than that way. So the suit never made a difference to me. Anybody who comes to me with a situation affects all four of those suits. Now, in a reading, one suit might be more prevalent than another, and you could take that in consideration if you want to. You can go into the suits deeper if you want to in one reading and disregard them totally in another reading. So it's up to you as a reader, what you think fits best for that reading. And that's the way I like to see the four suits. I also think that if you know my work, I do talk a lot, or my work goes into deeper than most other works as far as the application goes. I think the application is where we find our answers as far as what these cards are doing, more than we find it in the symbolism of the cards or meanings of the cards. What we're doing with the cards, when we're laying those cards on the table, that's what's really important. That's what it's all about. And so yesterday morning, I'm in a back porch, and I was sitting out there with my pad of paper, my coffee, and the cat. And I drew this here. I'm going to draw a picture. I scanned it in, but it's the Celtic cross, but I have it where it's layered and how one position interacts with another position. And I was just playing around out there with it, but I liked it. I'm going to call it up here so you can see this. So you can see what I did here. And this is nothing important, but it's just when you do something like this, I would suggest doing this yourself, doodling around with a card spread you like. This is my Celtic cross, and I show how the positions interact with each other. Here's the number 1 and 2 position, and I teach that it works very well with position 7. But it also has a good connection with position 9, the purpose of the whole reading. Position 7 with my cross is how the client views their own question. Positions 1 and 2 is a look at the question itself. And then I have 3 going into 4, going into 9. Well, 3 is your initial reaction or your response to the situation, what goes through your mind. 4 is the immediate goals you want to try to accomplish with this situation. And 9 is the whole purpose of what you're trying to do. Lots of times when we're confronted with a situation, our initial response might be a little off. So it gives the reader an opportunity to help the client adjust their thinking on a situation and come up with initial plans that will that'll be helpful for them, keeping in mind the whole purpose of this situation. And we don't want to steer away from that. And I have position 5, 6, and 10 are connected too. It goes underneath the 1 and 2. 5 goes underneath number 2 to 6. And that goes up to 10. That's your asset. 5 is an asset, something you have going for you that you can use here, a talent or an influence or something that we should be called to your attention. And 6 is an opportunity to come in the near future on what you're going to do, what you should look for that will help you, something in the near future that will help you if you want, look for it. And 10 is possible outcome and details, fine-tuning the whole situation. Details, good and bad. Bad to watch for, to look out for, prepare for, and good ones to look forward to as well. So, and that's how I lay this out. That's how I think when I do the cross. 8 by itself is the timing. And the timing affects all these positions, really. When to act is what I mean by timing. What needs to be in place? Maybe I have this, I'm just using a line for 8s. You see how maybe 8 goes here to 6. The timing might be when we find this opportunity in 6. Wait until that happens. Or the timing might be once we develop this asset of position 5 and get this working. The timing could also be something that we need to fine-tune in our initial response to the situation and immediate plans we want to make. Get those in place before we act. So you see that timing has a lot of different influence. Timing can also affect the question itself. Don't move on until you really take a look at what you're looking at here. Understand this question. Understand what it is you're doing and what you're dealing with. What's involved. Anyway, drawing out yourself, drawing out a physical, actual map like this, of any type of map at all, about your spread. It doesn't have to be a Celtic cross. It could be any spread. Helps you really look at it when you do lay cards on the table. And that's what's good about something like this. I mean, this is never going to be framed or nothing. It's just something that gives me a mental idea that helps me really become familiar with what it is I'm looking at when I'm applying a card spread. And I really think that that could be helpful. So drawing it out, look like anything you want it to look like. If you don't like it, throw it away, start another one. But I think keeping it simple is always good. And I think that the keeping those 4 suits simplified and working together. And I wanted to bring that up with what the teachings of the Rosicrucian do talk about that. Now, I never really became a scholar with the Rosicrucians, but I do know that they have a lot to learn, or a lot to teach, I should say. And you can, and I do know that that's what they talk about as far as the 4 principles go: earth, air, water, and fire. And I use the 4 principles as personality types, which a lot of tarot readers have that in their work too. Thought, swords, emotions, cups, your physical, material world, the pentacles, and your spirit of who you are, why you are, who you are, your spirit, the wands. Anything you're getting involved with will affect all 4 of those functions. Any reading you're doing will affect all 4 of those functions. So each suit is important to look into, regardless of the cards that are laid on the table. I think this is more important than the symbolism of the cards, depending on what deck you're using. I think the application and how you're using those cards is what's really important. So looking at the 4 suits that way, I think really helps a lot. Taking a look at your card spread and drawing it out. You can actually go to my tarotmaps.com if you do a Celtic cross, and you could download and go to the download page in the menu, and you could download a Celtic cross. And it's the same one that's in my tarot maps, chartered predictions with the Celtic cross. So it's this right here. And you can just print out a bunch of these over here. And you could play around with them. Do card spreads and play around with them, whatever you want. But if you want to draw out how these positions work with each other, how does this position work with this position down here, or these positions over here? So all this could be shown. You can start to see how they work with each other, depending on what meanings you have, whether you're using my meanings or somebody else's. They should interact with each other. And what I've done here with this type of thing is I've shown possible interactions. You could have all sorts of other interactions going on, depending on the reading. You might find that this over here really works really great with this 5 over here, might work with 4 over here, depending on the reading. But you're going to find trends on how they work. And those positions that I have halved out here on this are the way I see the cross. And it really helps me when I'm actually throwing cards on the table doing a reading to know how those patterns work. And so drawing them out like this gets them in your head. And it'll help your readings. At least I think it will. Anyway, thought I'd mention that, talk about that. I thought it would be something that would be interesting to talk about. That's that. June 13th is our next tarot gathering, 12 o'clock Chicago time. Go to tarotmaps.com. I'll have a link below. Go to the menu in tarotmaps.com and go to tarot gatherings, which is all the way at the end. Now you'll have to go to more in the menu, and a subtitle goes down and you'll see tarot gatherings. So I've added a few things on my website, but it's there. All are welcome. Doesn't cost a dime. And if you got any questions about the tarot cards, got a lot of pro readers in there, got a lot of people just interested in the tarot. A lot of people more than happy to talk about it. Well, thanks for watching. Keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon. Bye.